G'day, we're the Traders with thanks to Sportsbet. I'm Roy, I coach Destroy It. I'm here with Warnie.
Coach of the War Dogs.
And Calvin.
Coach of the Mighty Calvinator, and it's prelim finals week. Now, at Bacon Cup, I'm up against Cub. Now, on the other side, Warren, you are a chance to meet me. I'm already through, let's face it, it's only Cub. But if you do this right, you will play me next week in the grand final.
What a grand final setup that will be.
Massive. Just do your part.
Got to get through this week, though, and it's been a bit of carnage at selection table. So, looking at the outs there, obviously a couple of suspensions there in Green and Brayshaw, but Jake Lloyd, massive out with knee soreness, and then another knee with Riley O'Brien. So, Roy, you've copped both of those.
I have,
ones.
bang, bang.
Yep, and
standard.
it didn't stop there as well. Your bench cover is looking pretty depleted there with Briggs, Connolly and West, who are all popular bench dudes. So it's going to be an interesting round to see how coaches get through this. Obviously, your trades, you're going to have to be making them. We'll talk about those in a second, based around trying to score as many points as you can this week, which is going to be a struggle in itself. But there are a couple of ins. I guess the relevant ones there is Josh Kelly is back, Lockie Neal as well. Andy McGrath, handy one there for some people in their draft leagues.
Now, I'm just wondering, Roy, did you find him on the scrap heap before?
I certainly did.
I thought you were
Not
in there.
a bad one to be able to pick up there. Hopefully he does dominate against the Suns as the Bombers hunt towards some September action. Anyway, the big issues, as we talked about there, we've got two of the most popular players, especially Jake Lloyd, but also Riley O'Brien there. 10% of teams, and you've been quite happy rolling him as your R2.
Yeah, I have. You got to be agile, and I've got Sindez Moses here trying to get through all this. But so Riley O'Brien, he's only owned by 10%, but it's just a really tricky time to deal with it. Now, you would naturally look and think I'm going up to Brodie Grundy, especially when you see he scored a 150 versus the Lions earlier this year, but McInerney wasn't there. Right. So don't just launch into paying that cash when it's not the easy matchup we thought. Now, Max looks like he's got a dream matchup because obviously Riley O'Brien is out, but Luke Jackson is playing so well, and leading up to finals, there's that fear that he plays a little bit more ruck. So Rowan Marshall is the answer. Now, he's owned by 16% of the competition at the moment. Most likely people have him sitting in the forward line, so I'm just thinking switch him into the ruck for O'Brien and then go shopping from there. Nice. Now, this Jake Lloyd issue affects more of the competition because he's owned by 36% of the competition. So I'm recommending Whitfield there. In his last few games against the Tigers, he has pumped out some huge scores, and I'm talking 150 type scores. So you can also throw a VC on him. So that's a little added bonus with picking up Lockie Whitfield. And Daniel Rich has the best run home out of all defenders in the competition, and his form has been red hot as well. So I like those two as Jake Lloyd replacements.
That carnage is crazy though on that back line there with Lloyd, because he's made Callum Mills, who was a laid out last week, he didn't come back in. So there could be coached there with two gun swan defenders to have to move on. It's going to be a tricky round for a lot of coaches, what they're going to do. I'll start with my trades. Now, I only have the Jake Lloyd issue, so he's going out. Basically, I'm going Josh Kelly and Jack Crisp as my two in. So
nice.
I'm okay with that because they're going to be gun players to have, but it's sort of left me in a bit of a tricky spot. I did want your mate, Jack Steelcow, so I could match you next week in the grand final with him, but I may not get him now.
Bad luck, dog.
Who'd you go, Cal?
Well, I went with, it's a little bit risky, so I've gone with Darcy Parish out with Jake Lloyd because I'm hunting down Jared Lyons. Now, he had 142 earlier this year against Collingwood, and also bringing in Whitfield as well.
Yeah. Well, they're the same as me. I'm bringing in Whitfield and Lyons. Am I putting the C on Lyons?
Yes, you can.
I can.
Yeah, if you don't have Took and if you do not have Steele, then yes, you can. And that's called in the business a segue into Calvin's captains, because at the top there, I have Took just ahead of Steele. Now, both have been awesome. So since round 6, Took's gone at 130. Since round 8, Steele has gone at 130, but the matchup is a little bit better for Took this week. So Geelong for Jack Steele, they're the number one hardest team for midfielders in the last 5 weeks. However, if you do have Jared Lyons, as I said, 142 against Collingwood, one of the greatest teams to score against. And remember last week, what did Tom Piggy Mitchell have?
Dominated.
157. He was your captain last week.
He certainly was. It was the best thing I've done all year. Now, boys, there was some really sad news this week because The pig, the second pig ever inducted, and that was in 2014 in the middle of his best season. He went on to average a world record 134.8, and would you believe 7 of his 18 games that year were over 150.
What?
Wow. Tom Rockliff, an absolute fantasy machine, a fantasy pig. The greatest, well, up there with the greatest because of just what he had. Like, half of his games he scored over a ton. Like, that's massive. But I think the cool stat out of that too, a quarter of his games were over 120. So a quarter of the time, he was scoring over 120 points per game, which is just amazing when people are going, oh, these guys averaging 115, they should have a snout.
Okay. I'm going to raise you
week
with
in,
this.
Week out, right?
His ceiling.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Okay. Top score, 190. And let's not even go down the story where he predicted on the podcast he'd go 180.
And did.
Highest
That's
score,
just rude.
unbelievable. And 19 scores over 150 in his time. The most of any player. And he would have been my captain in all of those, dog.
Well, of course, you would have had him in there and counted his average and your average all the time, Calvin, because you are a genius captain picker at the moment, aren't you?
Touche.
Certainly are. Look, thank you, Rocky.
Yes.
Keep overindulging in retirement, you absolute pig.
We love you, Rocky, and good luck, everyone, for your preliminary final this weekend. Going to be a big weekend. Make the most of your trades because everyone probably should or will have a forced trade of some description. Good luck.